Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth part of the Origin Code Academy Prep Course Walkthrough series. If you were with us last time, we finished up Web 100, HTML and CSS, and now we're on to Node 100 and learning about NodeJS and JavaScript. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 7 sets of exercises to complete in Node 100, and today we're going to shoot to get through the first level 2 exercises and level 3 exercises. So we'll try to get up to operators and conditionals today, and then cover that in the next lesson. So if you're just tuning in for the first time to one of the prep course walkthrough webinars, then this is a good place to learn how to pretty much start learning how to code if you've had no experience before. This portal that you're seeing here is the pre-work or prep course for Origin Code Academy, and it consists of 3 courses: Web 100 covering HTML and CSS, the basics, and then Node 100 covering the basics of programming with NodeJS and JavaScript in general. And then the third and final course is Web 101, which dives into jQuery and Ajax and using JavaScript to manipulate your HTML and CSS. So we're about a third of the way through, just getting started on Node 100 today and learning about JavaScript. So I'll start out with kind of my routine of going over Scrimba, this tool, which if you've never heard of it, is a revolutionary new interactive screencasting tool. And so I'll show you a little bit how it works. But it looks like we just have a regular video here with the text editor as the main content of the screen. And we can play the video, and it sounds like there's a lesson being played in the background, and then let's see if he's actually writing any code in this video. Okay, so there's no code in this one. Let's move on to past the introduction, so we can get a look at the live coding. Actually, as the instructor is speaking, he's also typing into the code editor, and you're able to see the code that he's typing. Not only are you able to see it, but you can pause the video and jump in and start typing whatever you'd like to. The code is going to be typed by me now and typed by an instructor later. So I can put whatever I'd like in there. At this point, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just a comment, which we'll learn more about as we get into the JavaScript lessons. But if I replay the video now, the code that I wrote is going to disappear. However, if you ever want to see the changes that you made, you can always go over here and click the arrow, and then under the middle tab where it says Notes, you can go back to your local edits, and we can see at 49 seconds, I changed the code to actually say something different. And so, close that guy. So that's a little bit about Scrimba. It's really a very valuable tool when you're learning how to code, as opposed to watching a static screencast and then having to retype all that code yourself in another editor. You can do it all from one interface. So very handy, very useful tool. The next thing, actually we'll dive into a little bit of a brief overview of the first lesson about statements and expressions. So obviously the first video is about commenting. Then there's a little bit more about commenting in the written lesson. Then beyond that, there's some about declaring variables, the very basics of getting started with JavaScript, and then assignment operators, case-sensitive names, casing standards, addition, variables, compound assignment, and math operations. So Looks like this is a pretty lengthy lesson and a lot of different topics being covered. But we'll actually go ahead and go on to the coding challenges so that so that we can reference the lessons as we need to. We can always come back to this lesson and if we need to research some more about something. So if we try to tackle this first code exercise for JavaScript, what's it asking us to do? Press the start button and load code into the editor. Okay, easy enough. In main.js, there are two messages being printed to the console using console.log. Use a single line comment to prevent the second message from being printed to the console. So a single line comment, let's say you forget what a single line comment is from the lesson. You can always go back and let's check this out. So, it looks like this is a single line comment, multi-line comment, and another way of doing multi-line comment. So let's grab our single line comment syntax here and then see if we can apply that to our coding challenge. So prevent the console log on line 5 from running by using a single line comment. So line 5, I'll add what I know to be the single line comment syntax and give it a test. And it looks like that that is passing the exit criteria. So great job. That's a little bit about commenting. Comments really help other developers and anyone else who's trying to read your code kind of have a better idea of what's going on. Because as you're writing it, you may have some great idea. You come up with a trick and it works well. But then another developer might have to come in and add to your code or adjust it. And it's really helpful if you add descriptive comments as to what the function is doing or what that particular line of code is doing. And so that's how you add a single line comment. Let's see what's next. So in main.js, add 3 variables described in the egg criteria below. First, declare a variable named y, then 2 variables each named z and z using the multiple variables syntax. So there's a couple of terms in here that maybe you're not familiar with. Let's go ahead and look at declaring variables. So it looks like declaring variables is done by using the var keyword. So it looks like to declare the variable x, I would just say var x. And then to declare multiple variables at once, you just separate them with a comma. Okay, so let's see if we can apply that to our coding challenge. All right, so variable named y, var y. And then to declare 2 variables named z and z, we would just go z, comma z. All right, and we can see that that is now passing the exit criteria. And let's see what lesson number 3 has in store. All right, so in main.js, add a new variable describing the exit criteria. Create a variable called y and assign the value 5. Man, so I know all about declaring variables at this time, but I'm not really sure how to assign them. So let's go back and look at the lesson. The assignment operator. Okay, we can also assign values to variables when declaring them. Values are the data we would like to store for reuse in our code, as seen in the following example. So a single equal symbol is the assignment operator. Here in this example, they declared a variable called x, assigned it the value of 10, and then we use x, print out x, and it console logs the value 10. All right, so we saw how to define and assign the variable. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. We'll define y and then give it the value of 5. As you can see, the same was done with x, assigning it to 10 up here. Give that a test, and looks like our exit criteria is passing, and we can move on to the next coding exercise. All right, there's currently a bug in the editor. Use your knowledge of case sensitivity to squash the bug and meet the exit criteria. Let's go ahead and say start. Fix line 3 in main.js to make the test pass. So it mentioned case sensitivity here. Let's see if there's anything in the lesson about case sensitivity. All right, case sensitive names. So it's telling us that first name with camel case, and camel casing is just when you don't capitalize the first word, however, you capitalize subsequent words. So first is not capitalized, then name is capitalized, and if you were to, okay, so here we can see JavaScript community as a whole recommends using the camel case standard when naming variables. First name, last name, day of week. So here's a nice long one. You can see that the first one is never capitalized, and then the subsequent ones each get a capitalization. So that's camel case, widely used in JavaScript for declaring variables. Some other common cases are uppercase, which is when even the first letter is uppercase and then subsequent words are also uppercase. Snake case is words separated by underscore, and then kebab, words are separated by a dash. So we can see that first name with camel case and first name as all caps are two different variables and will not reference the same value. So let's see what that was asking us to do again. Okay, so variable name is being declared up here. However, variable name as all caps was never declared. And so this doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and fix the bug and just copy and paste our real variable name and replace the all uppercase name with the camel case name. And that should satisfy our exit criteria. And we're ready to move on to exercise 5. So, instructions. Use an addition expression to meet the exit criteria. Addition. Declare a variable called y and assign it to the result of adding 5 to 10. All right, so let's see what they say about addition in our lesson. Assignment operator, case sensitivity. We went over some casing standards. Okay, addition. So looks pretty straightforward. Looks like you're just adding two numbers together here. And you can also add variables. So this y, since it's already declared up here and assigned to the value of 15, then this is pretty much just saying 10 plus 15 plus 8, which will give us 33. So let's see if we can use an addition operator, which is the plus symbol, in our next coding exercise. Declare a variable called y and assign it to the result of adding 5 to 10. So declare the variable y and assign it using the assignment operator to the result of adding 5 to 10. All right, so declared our variable y and then gave it the assignment of 5 plus 10. All right, we're moving through. We're on to the 6th exercise. Let's go ahead and check that out. So in the editor, perform the reassignments described in the exit criteria below. Assign the contents of y to x and assign the value of 5 to the variable y. Not sure about reassignment. Let's see what it says in the lesson. Compound assignment, variables. Oftentimes in code, we need to change the values of our variables or move variables around. We call this reassignment. And it can happen in a couple of different ways outlined in the example below. So we see A is being declared here and assigned the value of 1. However, on the very next line of code, they're reassigning the value to 20. If we log A, it is 20 because code is read from top to bottom. And first, it declared the variable and assigned it 1. Next, it reassigned it, completely squashed the 1, and just said, no, instead of 1, I want you to have a value of 20. And then we declared another variable called B and assigned it whatever the contents of A already were. So since at this point, when the code gets to here, A is equal to 20, B also becomes equal to 20. As you can see here, when you log them both to the console, their values are both 20. So let's see if we can use that knowledge in our next coding exercise. Assign the contents of y to x. So y is already declared, which means we can just invoke it by saying y. Actually, it wants us to send x equal to y, and then y equal to 5. Let's give that a test. All right, moving on to exercise number 7. So use the predefined variables to determine the results for each given mathematical operation. Looks like we have about 4 bullet points in our exit criteria. So let's break them down. First, set the value of the variable sum to be the result of x added to y. All right, so we've already seen a little bit about addition. Let's see what else we're going to be expected next. Multiplied by y, divided by, and then the remainder. Okay, so we've seen the addition operator, but I'm not sure we've covered the multiplication, division, and remainder operators. So let's go look back in the lesson to see what kind of, let's see, math operations. There we go. All right. Okay, so the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division operators are pretty much the same as you would use on a desktop calculator if you were using the app on your computer for calculation. Then the star symbol stands for multiplication, negative or dash stands for minus, and then the // is the division symbol. Now I don't see one that's covered in here. It's called the modulo operator, which will return the remainder. Okay, so let's go back to the coding challenge, and I'll just kind of teach you about the different operators. So sum is obviously x plus y. We've seen that the addition operator before. Product is multiplication, so x and then the asterisk symbol times y. The quotient should be the result of y divided by x. And now the remainder is calculated by using a special operator called the modulo operator, and this looks like a percent symbol. So this will divide y by x and return only the remainder if it's a whatever is left over. So let's see if we can visualize that. So x equals 3, y equals 2. 3 divided by 2 equals 1. with 0.5 left over. Should with 1 left over. So 3 divided by 2 equals 1.5. However, three modulus 2 equals 1, because that's what's left over when you divide 3 by 2. So that's a little bit about the modulo operator. Let's give that a test. And looks like we are well on our way to exercise 8. All right, so in the editor, use compound operators to meet the exit criteria below. Using the compound operators, fix the code so that all variables equal 10. Let's go back and take a look at compound operators in the lesson. See what all right, compound operators. So if we already have a value, if our variable already has a value, and we just want to increase that value, for example, x is already assigned the value of 100. If we just need to add 50 to it, instead of saying the long way x equals x plus 50, the compound or shorthand operator is plus equals. So it'll take the value of x and increase it by 50 and also assign it to x. So x will now become the result of x plus 50. So let's see if we can use our compound operators in this current code exercise. All right, so using the compound operators, fix the code so that all variables equal 10. So a equals 2, a plus 8 equals 10, b equals 15. So what can we subtract from 15 to make it equal 10? That would be 5. C is already equal to 5, so how do we multiply that? What do we multiply that by to equal 10? That would be a 2. B is already equal to 20, so in order to get 10, we would just divide by 2. All right, looks like that satisfied the exit criteria, and we're ready to move on to, let's see. Oh, hey, Christopher. Glad you're tuning in there. Yep, you're right. 522. Let's see what the next coding challenge is all about. Using only parentheses, update the expression so that the value assigned to the variable result is 30 instead of 25. All right. So, oh, you mentioned PEMDAS, Chris, the order of operations in mathematics, and that is very, very much translatable to code. It's actually done the same way. That's actually what it's asking us to modify here. So update the expression so that the value assigned to the variable result is 30 instead of 25. So currently, it goes x plus y. So it says y times z comes first. That's 20. And then it says plus 5. In order to make the addition happen first, we would simply wrap the addition equation in parentheses. And give that guy a test. All right, result should equal 30. See what happens if we take the parentheses off. Expected 25 to equal 30. So without the parentheses, this equation evaluates to 25. Simply adding the parentheses will have it evaluate to 30. So there you go. We passed the exit criteria for our final exercise in, let's see, level 2 of Node 100. All right, great. Moving on to the next lesson. This is going to be all about JavaScript types. And JavaScript types is a very common interview question for when you're getting a job. There's 7 JavaScript types: numbers, strings. What else do we have? Arrays, functions, booleans, null, and undefined. And there's one more that's not mentioned in here called a symbol. However, you won't be using the symbol very often, in my experience thus far. So, talking about numbers, strings, escape sequences for those strings, string concatenation, lots about strings, very important JavaScript type, bracket notation, which is grabbing the value of arrays or the certain character of a string also. Functions. Functions are pretty much a set of statements grouped together to form a reusable block of code. So a function is something that you can call an infinite number of times, and kind of how JavaScript all works together to create dynamic web applications. Booleans, true or false. Another way of saying true or false. It's like a flag, pretty much. And then null and undefined. So there's a distinct difference between these two. Undefined Undefined is a value type to describe a variable that has not yet been assigned a value. Also assign undefined to a variable. All right, let's see what the first challenge is asking us, and then we'll come back and reference the lesson as we need to. Again, for anyone just tuning in, this is the Scrimba screencast interface, and it's pretty much just an interactive way to listen to a coding lesson, see the instructor type out some code about that lesson, and then also pause the video at any time and jump in and add your own variables. X equals testing. Actually, see, I got to click in here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Bar Y equals testing ABC. And then you can always hit play again and resume the video from where it left off and resume the lesson. If you need to see those local changes that you made, you can always click the arrow in the top right and check out at 2:03 I made these certain changes, and that might be helpful if you were playing around with some code and something clicked for you right in the moment. You could go back and reference the code that you changed, and also you can delete that note if needed. All right, so let's get into the lesson 3 exercises. And we are well on our way to completing Node 100. So exciting. If you're just tuning in with us, this is the 4th episode of the prep course walkthrough. The first 3, we were able to finish the first course called Web 100. and we learned all about the basics of HTML and CSS. Now we have just begun today to dive into JavaScript and NodeJS programming. So if you missed the beginning of the lesson, we covered JavaScript statements and expressions, and now we are just getting into JavaScript types. So our first exercise about JavaScript types is asking us to set the value of number to be any value of the type number. Okay, so we've seen examples of numbers before. A number can be any whole number. So let's just give it an 8 for right now. Let's see if decimals work. 3.88. Yep, decimals work. Expressions that evaluate to numbers will also work. 8 divided by 4 becomes the type, or the number 2, which is the type number. Let's see, 8 divided by 4. Yes. And our results are still passing, so looks good. What we don't want is to say something like wrapping it in quotes would make it a string. So the number equals 20, I still see a number in there, but because it's wrapped in quotes, that makes it a string and changes the type, the JavaScript type. So now our tests are not passing, and it says that a string should have been a number. So our variable number was actually assigned to string. So another cool keyword in JavaScript is kind of a way to force that to be a number. We can just write the word number. You can see in the IntelliSense, the little pop-up there, number, constant number, number constructor, value any. So this is a built-in JavaScript function that will try to convert or coerce whatever's in here to be of type number. So if we test that, now our exit criteria is passing again because we converted the string to be of type number. There's another function in JavaScript called parseInt. I believe this will take any string that has a number in it and also coerce that into the type number. Chris, you bring up a good point here about, he said, isn't it a nice thing to remember to always put var num age equals 5 in every variable number you made? So that is a good way to kind of keep track of your types because JavaScript is a loosely typed language. A lot of times you're not forced to a specific type. Your variables can hold many different types. So for instance, first our number could hold the string 20. But then on the very next line, we could say, we could assign number to the number 20. And so it's not going to complain that, hey, I was already defined as a string. Why are you trying to make me a number now? It's JavaScript is just very malleable in that way, in that you can assign it one type and then immediately reassign it with a different type. And Chris, to your point, if you had a lot of variables on the page, for example, var num age equals 20 is a good way to remember that this variable should be the type number. And then you could have just age be string value. All right, so let's move on to Exercise 2. I'm not sure what you mean there about global num age. Let's see. Yes, so we will cover global variables in an upcoming lesson. I don't think we're going to get into that depth today, but good point, Chris. Thanks for bringing up global variables. All right, in the editor, assign string values to meet the exit criteria below. Declare a variable named myName and assign it to your name as a string. Okay, so we saw that strings are defined using quotes. So let's first declare a variable, var, called myName. So var myName, and we open up our quotes to indicate a string type, and we'll set that to myName. Next, it wants us to declare another variable, so var keyword, called favorite color. And assign that to another string. So we'll open up our quotes, and we'll say blue. So now we have my name declared and favorite color declared, and they're both assigned a different string value. All right. So it's fairly straightforward with strings, and the past one was numbers. So strings and numbers, very common and probably the easiest to work with. Let's see what's in exercise 3. So fix the existing code using escape sequences so the test pass. All right, I remember seeing something in our written lesson about escape sequences. Oh yeah, we're in level 3 here. Escape sequences. All right. There are a few special characters to be aware of when typing information into strings. For example, what happens if you want to use the single quote character inside of a string surrounded by single quotes? So you see an example of that here. X equals opening quotation, closing quotation. However, in the middle, the apostrophe is going to be interpreted as a quotation as well, and it's going to break the string. Then here's a way to fix it. You put a backslash just before the quote that you want to escape. Another common way to get around this is mixing single and double quotes. So wrap your string in double quotes, and then the apostrophe won't be mistaken for a quote. So that's another way. Let's see if we can apply that to our next lesson. Fix the existing code using escape sequences. All right, so we see we have a lot of linting and underlined errors here. Looks like they're trying to use single quotes, and then the sentences have apostrophes themselves. So this is asking us to use escape sequences. Let's go ahead and put a backslash for that guy, that guy. Escape all the apostrophes. And now I don't see any more red squiggly lines. Chris says he uses double quotes. I wonder if that will allow us to pass the tests. We'll do one with double quotes and then one with escape character. So, all right, it looks like it allowed that one to pass. And there are two ways right there of how to escape special characters. Great job. All right, so lesson 4 out of 10. Declare a variable named myName and assign it your name as a string. Declare a variable named myFavoriteColor. Declare a variable named myStatement and concatenate myName and myFavoriteColor. Okay, concatenation is a new word for us. We haven't come across that yet in our exercises, but I do remember seeing it in the lesson. So let's check out string concatenation. Okay, here we go. As it turns out, the addition operator is not only useful for adding two numbers together, it is also used for concatenating or joining two or more strings together to form a single string. So, a basic example of that is declaring the variable message and assigning it the value of joining two strings, pretty much. So this is the same as saying hello without all that, hello world without the plus sign. But this is another way to do it. All right, so basically you use the math assignment or addition operator to join two strings together. Let's see how that works in our lesson. All right, so first, declare a variable named myName, var myName, and assign it your name as a string. Again, open our quotes. Christian. Declare a variable named myFavoriteColor. So use the var keyword, myFavoriteColor equals blue, and finally declare a variable named myStatement and assign it the value of my name plus my favorite color. All right, so we have my name, my favorite color as two separate string values, and then we're just going to join them together. This is the same as saying Christian and blue. Oh, however, it wants us to add another string between those two strings. And great point, Chris. Don't forget to add spaces. So we'll see that here when we add the kind of in-between string that we're going to say likes the color. So now, if we did it just like that, it's going to print out my name likes with no space. It's going to print out Christian. I'll just I'll write it. Christian likes the color blue. So that's kind of what it would look like without the correct spacing in there. But if we just put a space just before and just after the string, now it will kind of open up like this and look like a normal sentence. So there we go with that one. All right, moving on. We're about halfway done with the Node 100 Level 3 exercises, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. And next week we'll jump into operators and conditionals, if and else statements, as well as checking for truthy values. Chris mentioned earlier the switch statement as well, switch or case statement. So that'll be fun. And then functions. Okay, yeah. So operators and conditionals, functions, and then the following week will be objects and loops. So yeah, it's getting progressively more advanced and also more fun and challenging. So definitely keep tuning in. Next week we'll get through 4 and 5. As long as we wrap up 3 today. So let's get going. Update the first name length variable to be the length of first name value. Okay, wait a second. The length of first name value. So string length. JavaScript provides us with some useful utilities when dealing with strings. There's a lot we can do with strings. For example, we can find out how many characters make up a string by adding length to the end of a string, .length. So this is a method, a JavaScript method that can be applied to any string, and it will return however many characters are in that string. So this is one way to do it. Var length of string equals hello world.length. And we can see that hello has 5 letters, world has 5 letters, and then the space counts as a character as well. And so we get 11. Not sure why it says 9 here. I think that should say 11 as well. Let's throw this into CodePen and test that out. Yeah, so it should be 11 then. All right. So again, the JavaScript method for finding the length of a string is just .length. All right, so first name length equals first name dot length. It should be that easy. And boom, it is. All right, great. So first name length. It's like 7. All right, what's next? Declare and assign your first and last name to first name and last name respectively. Declare a variable named initials and assign it the first letter of your first name and last name. All right, so I remember seeing something in the lesson about bracket notation. Okay, so this is how we're going to grab a specific character as long as we know the position that we're going after. So X is assigned the value of a string called hello U, and then if we just grab X and give it the 0 position, so the 0 index would be the H, because strings and arrays both start with a 0 base counting system. So the length is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is going to be 10. However, the last index is going to be 9 because it starts at 0. As you can see here, the H gets logged when we log Y, and the U gets logged when we log Z, because the 0 or first position is an H, and the 9th or last position is a U in the string. So let's see if we can use bracket notation and our knowledge of how the characters are kind of referenced by their index to grab the first letter of the first name and first letter of the last name. So let's see how that's going to go. So first we have to declare the two variables. First name equals a string. We've done this before. Last name equals empty string. Then I'll just fill that in with my name. And then another variable called initials. So we want to grab the first character. So remember that's going to be the 0. And then we use string concatenation to grab the first letter of my last name using the same bracket notation. So this should grab C, and then this last name should grab M only. All right, great job, guys. We are down to 4 exercises left. Let's start with declare a variable named grocery list and assign it an array of 3 or more strings, each containing an item you would find at a grocery store. Declare a variable named grocery list. So we didn't look at arrays yet, but arrays. All right. Arrays are a way to store a list of variables in JavaScript. For example, if we're asked to store the first 5 multiplications of 2, you might be tempted to write this code. Number 1 equals 2, number 2 equals 4, 3 equals 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 5 lines and a lot of declared variables and a lot of... All right, looks like we have our first grocery list item. Thanks, Chris, for throwing that out there. Grocery list 0 equals fish. All right. So instead of declaring 5 different lines, we can stick those all into an array and then still have access to them using the same kind of bracket notation that we saw in the strings. So let's take a look at how that works. So if you define the variable as it's asking, called grocery list, oops. So these brackets are actually the way to write an array, or to declare an array. So right now it's an empty array. And inside it can have any of the types that we've talked about already. So it can have strings, it can also have numbers, it can have 1, 2, 3, A, B. But here it's asking us to add stuff. So fish. We'll go with tartar sauce and milk. And then we'll get rid of these other items in our array. So now we have access to everything inside of grocery list by saying grocery list 0, which would become fish. Grocery list 1 would evaluate to, I think I spelled tartar wrong. Give that a look up really quick. Tartar sauce. And then grocery list 2 would be milk because of our 0-based indexing system. So 0 fish, 1 tartar sauce, 2 milk. And then also similar to the string, we could say, and that would be 3. The length of our grocery list has 3 different values in it, so the length is going to be 3. And we'll give that a test. And it likes our grocery list. It's happy with that, so that's good. And then we're moving on. Define a function named getFullName that returns your full name. All right. We're actually getting close to the end here. I might save the last couple of exercises for the next video because this is pretty important. Functions are a pretty heavy topic and something that you need to understand very well before becoming successful as a web developer. I don't want to just rush through these, and that would not be beneficial to you guys. So I'm going to leave my progress off here. We'll be able to resume next time at 8 out of 10 on level 3 exercises, and then hopefully we'll move through level 4 and level 5 in the next video. Again, as always, if you guys haven't signed up for the prep work, you can do so at prep.origincodecademy.com/prep course signup, and you'll be able to get started with this interface here, go through the lessons. You'll be able to start with Web 100, and we've actually already covered all that in the webinar series. If you head over to youtube.com and search for Origin Code Academy, and if you find our channel, there's actually a playlist for the OCA Prep Course Walkthrough series, in which you can watch the first lesson, second, and third, all about Web 100 and completing the very first course in the Prep Course module. So, again, that's YouTube, Origin Code Academy, and check out the Prep Course Walkthrough series playlist, and you'll be all caught up with us for next week. Chris, looking forward to seeing you in class on Monday. Looking forward to meeting you, and I'm glad you're active in here and throwing out some answers and solutions. It's always fun chatting with you, and I look forward to meeting you. And everybody else, come on down, see what we've got going on here at Origin Code Academy. We're having Nerf battles every day. We have daily giveaways. We're having a Monopoly contest this month, and students who are spending more time coding and more time in class obviously win the better prizes. And so come on down, see what's going on, and come check out Petco Park, which you can see kind of behind me. And also get started with your free prep course work. So again, that's prep.origincodecademy.com/prep course signup, and you're good to go. If you have any other questions, you can go over to the website at origincodecademy.com. To origincodecademy.com, and check out our website. Give us a call. Schedule a tour if you'd like. Can't hurt. Just come in and check out the place. No commitment required at that time. And yeah, thank you all again for joining me. I'm going to call it quits and hopefully see you next time. So my name is Christian, and I'm out of here.